Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. Today I have a very exciting announcement to make with some major changes that are happening as I embark on a journey into a career in the publishing industry. This has been a long time coming. I've been teasing this a little bit in other videos, but the time has finally come when I can officially give you all the details, tell you what's happening, where I'm gonna be, what I'm gonna be doing, and what's gonna be changing around here because there's quite a lot to go over. I will say, as I'm filming this, it is Star Wars Day, hence the appropriate attire for May the 4th be with you, but you will be seeing this tomorrow. Let's start with what's happening. So as a little bit of background, if you've been following me for a while, you might know that I have been very actively job searching since the end of October 2024. And I've talked about the fact that the job market right now is grueling. The publishing industry, which is really where I want to be working because I love books, is incredibly competitive, and I'm pivoting into a new career after spending the last almost 8 years as a book content creator while raising my kids. So I'm really excited to have an incredible opportunity to kind of get my foot in the door in the industry, and I have some other potential things in the works for later on. But as of this week, I'm starting a full-time paid internship in marketing and publicity with Crooked Lane Books and Alcove Press, and I could not be more thrilled, y'all. I'm really excited about it. This is a smaller but mighty publisher that has 2 imprints. Crooked Lane Books, which is known for publishing mystery, thrillers, and some horror, including books like The Body in the Back Garden by Mark Waddell, which I read last year and really enjoyed. This is a small town cozy mystery with a gay main character, and it was fantastic. And then Alcove Press does more like book club fiction, romance, a little bit of fantasy, and has published a couple of books that I really loved over the last couple of years. This includes Here for the Wrong Reasons. This is a really fun sapphic rom-com that is sort of Bachelor-esque, where we have 2 women who go on a reality dating show and fall in love with each other, and one of them is in the closet and blatantly there to grow her social media following. The other one is there for the right reasons, has never had a long-term relationship with a man, and doesn't realize that she's not straight. And it's messy and dramatic in the best possible way. I really love it. The other standout that they published is a book that I cannot shut up about. I can't tell you how many people in my real life I've recommended this book to. It was on my favorites of the year list last year, and it came out in January, and that is The Spirit Collection of Thorn Hall by J. Ann Thomas. Have you heard me talk about this? If you've been around, you probably have. I love it a lot. This is a modern take on a super slow burn gothic romance with a haunted mansion, and it's so good. It gives me Jane Eyre vibes. It's got so much pining and longing and external conflict. It's got creepy ghosts. It's got like everything you could want. I absolutely adored this book. So I am going to be spending the next 3 months working with the marketing and publicity team for those 2 imprints, and I am really excited. It is a higher level internship, so it's something where it's going to be a crash course in what it takes to be a professional in this industry, and this is really the industry that I want to be in. I want to be in book publicity, and I am so thrilled to have this opportunity. If you guys are interested in hearing more about what this experience is like, I could maybe share some over time, and we're going to get into what changes this means for me, what changes this means for the channel, because it definitely does mean some significant changes, and I want to be pretty transparent about that process as we go. So what's going to be changing? So one of the things that this means is that the expectations for a professional in this industry are very different from expectations for someone who's just a book reviewer, which is what I've been for a number of years. But moving forward, while I still will be reviewing some books, if I don't like a book, I just won't be talking about it. I've always been pretty upfront and transparent about my thoughts, and I do think that even when I've done negative reviews in the past, for the most part, I try to be pretty balanced and give specific reasons as to why I didn't like a book or why it didn't work for me and might work for other people. And I think for people who are reviewers, that is an entirely appropriate thing to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with negative reviews as someone who is just a reviewer. However, as a publishing professional working in book publicity, that's just not something that I can do. So if there's something that I read and I don't like, unless maybe it's a classic or something, possibly there would be an exception there, but otherwise I just won't talk about it publicly. If you saw my April wrap up, you saw the beginning of what my new wrap ups are going to look like as long as I'm doing content on YouTube. And so instead of talking about star ratings and lowest rated to highest rated, my wrap ups are going to talk about books in 3 categories: my hits, my surprises, and my faves. And I will say, because I've been doing it the other way for so many years, it was actually really fun to get to do it in a different way. And I honestly enjoy being enthusiastic about books that I love a lot more than I like being super negative about books I don't like. I would rather spend more time focused on that, and it's kind of what I lean into anyway. So I don't know how big of a change that is. I will say that I know this changes the dynamic, and I completely understand that for some people this just means that my reviews are not going to be for them anymore. I think that's fair. I get it. If I'm working in the publishing industry and I am censoring myself where I'm not talking about books that I don't like, and you feel like that is just too much for you, I get it. I think that's completely understandable. I will say though that as much as I have loved just being a reviewer for so many years, I'm in a place where, in terms of supporting my family and my personal career goals, this is a step that really makes sense. This is a step that I want to take, and for me the trade-offs are worth it. So I do understand that there may be some people who are just like, yeah, okay, this isn't for me anymore. Fair. So what content can you expect to see from me going forward? Obviously, jumping into a full-time job, I am going to be making significantly less content, so no promises on what that looks like. My suspicion is that especially the first few weeks of adapting to this new schedule is going to be more tiring, and I may not make as many videos. That may bounce back a little bit later. We'll have to kind of see how it goes. I do still intend to do the wrap-ups where I do, like I said, hit, surprises, and faves. I anticipate that I will not read as many books as I had been reading before, because I'm going to have a full-time 40-hour-a-week job for the next 3 months, and hopefully roll that into some other opportunities following. Other things I might do are themed book roundups, so books that I recommend based on a theme, like standalone fantasy books, or like middle grade coming of age stories, or whatever it is, where I can kind of pull together books that I like in a category and make recommendations. That's something I may still do. I would like to continue on with this series of reading books recommended to me by authors. I think that could be really fun. And maybe we'll see more author interview content. I don't know. Maybe if you're interested, some sort of day in the life as a publicity intern, if that's something people would like to see. And it may also mean that I end up talking about other things or other parts of my life more. Things like movies or TV shows I'm into, or fashion content, which is something that I also really love. And again, I realize this is not going to be to everyone's taste. Some of you want a specific thing from me, and I totally get if this is not it. But I really hope that some of you can be excited for me as I'm embarking on this new journey and come along and see what happens. I have talked to my patrons already about some of the changes that are being made. You might notice that there are videos that I've made in the past that have been privated. This is generally anything that was particularly negative. I don't make a lot of those videos, but I certainly have made some, and so those have been private. I've also been updating some things on my Goodreads where I'm removing star ratings, removing some reviews if, again, they're particularly negative in a lot of cases. And, again, that just sort of goes with the territory. It's a little weird because it's sad and exciting at the same time, right? I feel like it's really the end of an era in a lot of ways. I've been doing this for so long, and there's so many books that I've talked about. And while a lot of it's been positive, not all of it has been. And part of this process is sort of getting myself into a place where I'm ready for the professional next steps that are coming. What else? In terms of transparency, I have always been transparent about when I have a book for review. I will continue to do that, and also I will be transparent about if there is a book that I'm talking about that I worked on personally, depending on whether it's where I'm going to be working for the next few months or wherever I end up in the future. That is something that I will continue to be transparent about because I want it to be clear. And I think I've always been pretty good about this. I've also always been transparent about when I'm reviewing books from people that I'm friends with, because that is a thing that's also happened. People like Alexa Dunn or Lizelle Sambury, where I genuinely love their books, but also we're friends or mutuals. And so I have some kind of a bias in the way I'm reviewing their books? Yeah, probably. So while I always try to be as honest as possible, I also want to be transparent about whatever biases I might be bringing in. And let's be honest, the reality is that reviewing is always a biased thing. We all come in with different lived experience. We come in with likes and dislikes and different tastes, different things that bother us or things that excite us. And I hope that what I've been able to do over the past almost 8 years as a reviewer is do a good job of reviewing books in a way that gives you an idea of whether a book will be for you or not. And I have had people say, well, will you review books that you didn't like? I think if it's a book that I like really hate, it's just not a thing that I'm gonna touch. If it's a book where I can sort of give a non-rated review of it and say, hey, like, here's who I think this might appeal to, here's what it has to offer, that may still be something I can do in some capacity. We'll have to see. The other thing that I've really tried to do over the years and hope to continue to do is surface books by authors from marginalized groups that may not be getting the publicity that I think that they deserve. Again, if you've been following along for a long time, you know that a thing I really care about is making sure that I'm reading very diversely. I make an effort to read books by Black, Indigenous, and person of color authors, by openly queer authors, by disabled authors, by neurodiverse authors. All of those things I try to prioritize because I think they matter. I think it's important that different stories be told. If we're talking about children's literature, I think it's really important for children and youth to be able to see themselves represented on page, and also for them to learn about other people's experiences through storytelling. Those are things I've always been very passionate about, and that's not going anywhere either. So again, I do hope that I can continue to shout out and promote and surface books that are coming from authors like that maybe you haven't heard of. And I know from hearing from a lot of people that that's something they like about my content, is that I tend to talk about books that maybe they've never heard of. They're not always the big bestsellers, they're not always the ones that are getting as much attention, but they're really good books that some people are looking for. So that's not going anywhere either. So yeah, it's big changes. It's been a lot to organize, you know, making sure we have everything in place for my kids, because I'm going to be working out of an office for 3 days a week. This is my first office job since I was pregnant with my now 8-year-old, y'all. And I am really excited, but also it is a big change. I feel like this is a year of transition. My oldest kid is going to be in middle school this fall. I feel like there's a lot happening, and it is also a little weird because the world is so chaotic right now, and news is awful, but also there are some really incredible things happening in my personal life. And I hope that as I get into this industry, that beyond just doing what I've been doing of promoting authors that I think deserve this kind of attention on YouTube, that maybe from a place with even further reach, working in publicity, that maybe I can help do that as well in a different capacity. So if you have questions, please leave them down below. I'm happy to answer any of them. I am trying to kind of navigate a new situation and trying to figure out what is and isn't okay for me to do publicly, but I am thrilled with this opportunity. It feels like the best birthday present. I'm literally starting work the week of my 38th birthday, y'all. I'm like, this is great. It was actually kind of funny because a couple weeks ago, I was joking with my husband, you know what I really want for my birthday? A job. And I kid you not, the next day, this email came about the internship. So it just feels like serendipitous timing in a lot of ways, and I'm so excited to see what the future has. So I hope some of you will come along. I completely understand if some of you are like, yeah, this just like isn't what I'm looking for in a reviewer. Fair. There are so many amazing reviewers out there who have day jobs that are not in the publishing industry, including friends of mine. And so I know there are plenty of people out there, but yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. And thank you so much for those of you who've been cheering me on. And a huge thank you has to go out to my patrons and channel members who have been such an incredible source of support and kindness and thoughtfulness throughout this process when I've been having a really hard time with the job search. And it's just really gratifying to see it finally paying off. So I'm so excited, guys. I am so excited to see what happens. I'm like nervous and anxious and excited, and I think a lot of that is just because it's a new thing, it's a new schedule, there's a lot of like unknowns about it, but I think it's going to be amazing. And yeah, we'll see where this takes us. So that is my big announcement. Those are the details that I can share. Again, talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know if you have questions. And as a reminder, I'm trying to be good about mentioning this because they say like people need to hear that this is happening. me and Izzy from Happy for Now are still co-hosting a bookish retreat in Costa Rica in January 2026, which I'm so excited about. Right after the holidays, relaxing in the jungle, having a spa day, talking books, talking about book drama. It's going to be amazing. There are 5 early bird spots left available. The deadline to sign up for the trip is October 7th, and we do need 5 more people to sign up for the trip to happen. But I think it's going to be an incredible time to chill, relax, hang out. If you have questions, we have FAQ slides that are pinned on both of our Instagram profiles, and they are in the what is it called? The channel chat page, the community tab. I think it's still called the community tab on YouTube. So if you have any questions about that, you can check those out there. Or if you just want to see the details of the trip, there's a link down below. So reminder that that is available to you as well. So talk to me in the comments down below. Leave me a book stack emoji because my TBR is about to be out of control. Probably. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited, y'all. I am absolutely thrilled. But let me know any questions that you have. If you like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.